Hello, good morning, and Jai Hind. I'm Major Mohammed Ali Shah. I have the proud privilege and honor to be in conversation with one of India's foremost strategists, Mr. Jaideep Saikia, who has some very, very deep insights, particularly about what's happening in the east front of India. And let's go in straight away ahead in conversation with Mr. Jaideep Saikia. And just to tell you a few things, the Jaideep Saikia is, as I mentioned earlier, he's the one of the foremost strategists with footprints across the globe with his cutting edge analysis on matters of security. Now, I want to begin by asking you about the situation in Bangladesh, sir. How do you read the unfolding scenario?
Thank you, Major Ali, for having me the show again. I think it's a very pertinent question, rather the question of the hour. And for an observer sitting in Guwahati, as I am, I think the situation in Bangladesh, the erstwhile East Pakistan, as it were, is getting curiouser and curiouser. There's absolutely utter lawlessness in the streets of Dhaka and other cities of Bangladesh, and there has been stern warning from the dispensation, the interim illegitimate dispensation, if I may underscore the phrase, illegitimate dispensation of Muhammad Yunus, and of course the army to sort of usher in peace. But pretty little has been able to be done about it as present. I think the army's latest call for peace is a way of it wanting to enter the scenario in a very decisive way, because the interim illegitimate government of Muhammad Yunus has not been able to sort of control the situation. But as far as who are the miscreants who are out in the streets creating violence, we saw that with the absolute dismantling of the Bongo Bandhu Bhavan, the museum of the father of the nation who used to reside there, was a landmark in Dhaka. It was completely destroyed by miscreants. And Bangladesh of today actually is taken over by different groups of people, including the radical Islamists led by the Jamaat-e-Islami, the Hizb ut-Tahrir, the Ansarullah Bangla team, and also a group of students. We do not know who are backing them, the Students Against Discrimination, they call themselves, as well as erstwhile political parties like the Bangladesh Nationalist Party and remnants of the Awami League. Over to you.
Sir, now I know because of your deep insights why you are often known as the future NSA of the country. In fact, you must have heard this nickname given to you. ताकि कलाम आपको मिला हुआ है. I'm sure आप तक पहुंची होगी ये कान तक बात.
Well, I'm sorry. I can only be embarrassed by what you're saying. People have been writing and talking about this. As I said, this was actually thrown out in the open as a blessing from
Yes, sir.
villagers of my hometown in Sibsagar. A couple of years ago, when I had gone to plant mango saplings in the name of my grandfather and father in the holiest of shrine, the Namghor, as it were, in Sibsagar district's Jalukgaon. And somebody said that Jaideep Saikia would become the first national security advisor from Northeast and from this village. And press took it up in a very, very robust way. And there has been murmurs ever since. But I have naturally tried to sort of downplay this. I don't think I'm neither eligible for such a high position, nor have the credibility to sort of even think of being a person who will ever reach that position. I'm a nationalist. I'm a patriotic Indian. I'm an Indian first, then a Northeasterner, and then an Assamese. And in my little way, I will continue to, through my writings and sundry lectures every now and then, try to uphold the tricolor to the best of my ability. That is all that I wish to do in this otherwise forlorn life of mine.
That's very humble and modest of you to say that, sir. But that's the buzz around town. ये जो लोग आपके बारे में जानते हैं, they speak that way. They say that you would be the future NSA of the country, in fact. And so also, I would like to take this opportunity in asking you, there is a call by Dhaka for the extradition of Sheikh Hasina. Now, should what according to you should happen? Should India give in or what?
Oh, absolutely not. There is no question for India to even think of extraditing Sheikh Hasina, who has been an able friend and an ally ever since he returned to power about several decades, about a couple of decades ago. I mean, I remember as an Assamese how she handed over the Assamese insurgents billeting in Bangladesh, that is from the United Liberation Front of Assam and the National Democratic Front of Bodoland, immediately after she took office. And she has been a friend and an ally. Now that she has been ousted by an illegitimate regime and a cabal backed by anti-interest, it is our duty of both the government of India and the people of India to see that she is secure inside India now that she has come and taken asylum within inverted commas inside India, and there is no question of her extraditing it because she has no case inside Bangladesh except for the allegations that have been thrown out in the open about her committing crimes inside Bangladesh. But as far as we are concerned, we are a righteous country and we will stand by a friend and ally to the last very breath. That is all that I have to say. And if I may add, she has been lately accused by various voices from Dhaka that she is giving out messages which are anti-Bangladesh of the present. Now, I would say that this is any message which is coming or emanating from her place of stay in India is her own right. She is speaking to her constituency inside Bangladesh, whether it is the Awami League or whether it is the secular Bengali Bangladeshi populace. She is naturally worried about the law and order situation there. She has talked about the widows of the policemen who have been martyred by this illegitimate regime in Dhaka at present. And she is saying that I will return to Dhaka and ensure that law and order returns. And the Bangladesh, which was liberated by the Mukti Bahini with Indian Armed Forces help in 1971, will see the light of day again. This is my fond wish as a friend of Bangladesh, a person who has been to Bangladesh, is a part of the Track to Dialogue, and I have many friends there who are very pro-India. We in India, we in the Indian government, and I appeal to the government of India through my various writings that we should empower the secular Bangladeshi population which stands for peace, prosperity and friendship with India, and not fall into the hands of the Salafist or the radical Islamist or the extra-regional powers that are trying to sort of, use Bangladesh of the present as a foil against India.
Right, so that's very interesting to know your views. In fact, so you have written a series of articles recently about the manner in which India should deal with Bangladesh. Now, kindly, if you could kindly summarize your suggestions for our viewers' benefit, because I have read them all. In fact, many of us would have read them all for people who wouldn't have read them for them, sir.
Well, immediately after she was ousted and she came to India and took, well, as I said, within quotes, asylum in India, I wrote a piece called Let Us Return to Dhaka because I was very angry about the manner in which, after having won an election in January this year, in 2025, she was ousted because of something called, quota system, which she actually was trying to give it back to the judiciary for adjudication. But you see, the anti-India interest inside Bangladesh was baying for her blood, and she had to sort of, leave the country because of fear of her life. But she wanted to stay on. But I think it was her son, Sheikh Joy Wajid from Washington DC, who sort of, compelled her to sort of leave in Dhaka at that point of time. But the fact of the matter is, my first article, Let Us Return to Dhaka, which was little belligerent, was not liked by Mandarins in Delhi, by saying that no, let us wait and watch, Jaideep. So, bowing to some of my mentors' advice, I wrote another article saying, let us have some strategic patience. That was my second article. But you see, many, many months have passed since that article, and I think patience is running out. And more importantly, I think belligerence is growing by the day, by the decibels inside Dhaka, inside Bangladesh, which is completely anti-India. So much so that our foreign minister, as Jaishankar has recently told his counterpart from Bangladesh that there should be normalcy in Bangladesh, and he used a very interesting phrase called "Let's not normalize terrorism inside Bangladesh." He has also very sternly called the statements which are emanating from Dhaka about India taking a stance, etc., completely ridiculous. We are not making any anti-Bangladesh statements. If Sheikh Hasina has called on upon her constituency inside Bangladesh by sort of holding the hands of the widows of the martyrs which have been sort of brutally killed and burned inside Bangladesh by this illegitimate regime. That is her right as a former prime minister. I would say not former, I would say prime minister, because she is a democratically elected prime minister of Bangladesh. And that happened just in January 2025. If she appeals to her people, we have no way to stop her from doing so. So I think S. Jaishankar, our foreign minister, is within his rights when he says that the statements emanating from Dhaka are ridiculous, and he has appealed to the foreign minister of Bangladesh that terrorism should not be normalized. I think that's very important. So, but I think at this point of time, because of the interest that we have in Bangladesh, they are our neighbors. They're surrounded on three sides by India, and much of the happenings in Bangladesh affect us directly, especially in the northeast. So I think India should, in a way, diplomatically or otherwise, I'm not certainly saying that we should militarily do it the way we did it in 1971, but we have enough methodologies and enough courses of action to sort of adopt, by which we can actually tell Bangladesh that if you want to maintain good relationship with India, please do not harass the Hindu minorities that are there. Hindu, Buddhist, and other minorities are there. Do not turn a country which was founded on the grounds of secularism, linguistic, nationalist aspects, which severed itself from a Pakistan which was, absolutely massacring its own citizens. From the hands of the Pakistanis, we liberated them. So we have an interest in Bangladesh's welfare. And so we should do everything possible within our power to sort of ascertain that Bangladesh of 1971 sort of thrives and continues to be a friend and ally of India.
Right, sir. Very well said. Sir, you mentioned about the Northeast. You also mentioned about the article about let's return to what's happening in Bangladesh. On that note, I would like to ask you, sir, let's return to what's happening in India. Firstly, your comments on the delay in the Naga peace process, according to you, sir.
Yes, as you know, the ceasefire with the NSA and IM took place in 1997, and a good 28 years, I think, has passed since then without any headway whatsoever as far as the Naga peace process is concerned. There was this very ambitious 2015 framework agreement, which was anviled, and the architect of which was R.N. Ravi, who is actually had to have a very unceremonious exit from Nagaland. He was also the governor of Nagaland and interlocutor with the NSAN IM. But because of his uncalled for statement, he had to be removed. So advantage NSA and IM as a result of that. But despite that, I don't think in 2025, even as we are speaking, any headway has been made. Everybody was hoping that February would be the month I mean, today is the 26th of February 2025, when we would see some breakthrough in the Naga peace process. You also know that Mr. Muiva, the General Secretary of NSA and IM, would probably have to exit the scene sooner or later. I fear that there would be some sort of a war of succession after his exit, although I feel that V.S. Atem would perhaps be the front runner for the post of General Secretary. But you must remember that there are people like Anthony Shimre who were closet Chinese and who were arrested about a couple of years ago because of gun running with a Chinese company. So India, New Delhi should be very wary of this particular, atmospheric that is running at play inside Nagaland. So, and treat very cautiously. I think a delay in the Naga peace process, as you say, is detrimental to Indians' interest. Although the flag and the constitution continues to be a very important obstacle, I think a constitution, the Yazabo is certainly a no-no. But I personally feel that there is no problem in actually granting them a flag, but it has to be subservient to the tricolor, to the national flag. Every club now here and there have their own flags. So I see no point in actually breaking our heads over a small question like the flag if it is subservient to the tricolor, to the national flag. The constitution is a no-no. Greater Nagalim certainly cannot be given because governments of Manipur and the other states like Arunachal Pradesh and Assam would certainly have a problem of way of parting their territory. And Manipur, the hill districts like Ukhrul, from where the majority of the NACNIM cadres hail from, including Mr. Muiva himself, Ukhrul, Somdal, the home village of Muiva, where I have personally been there. I don't think Manipur will part with that. We had come up with an idea where we wanted to grant autonomy plus to these people, and I think that can be looked at and examined. Mr. G.K. Pillai, the former UN Home Secretary, Lieutenant General K. Himalaya Singh, and I sat over an online meeting and thrashed out a framework by which, in fact, we presented it to the government of India, whereby autonomy plus could be granted. But certainly there's
When
no
was
question of organizing
when was this?
Manipur.
When was this
Sorry?
online meeting? When was this
Well,
online
this was
meeting of
just
yours?
this was in 2023. A lot of years have passed. It was before the problem in Manipur erupted. Mr. J.K. Pillai, Lieutenant General K. Himalaya Singh, and I were panelists, and it was anchored by Dr. Alex Waterman from Leeds in the United Kingdom. And we sent the findings of the online, meeting to the government of India, but nothing has been done. There we said autonomy plus is the only answer because there is no question of balkanizing Manipur. Manipur government will not agree with that. As a matter of fact, one of the bills was not even tabled by the Legislative Assembly of Manipur because they feared that this would create a state within the state of Manipur. They'll have a different chief secretary, they'll have their own financial powers, but then look at the way the Boro territorial region of Assam is working. It's working so well. So I would say that a superimposition of a similar idea in Manipur would sort of settle this for once and all. And a high-level committee should be formed by the government of India to examine these proposals in its entirety.
So when the peace process, when the ceasefire process, and when the talks with the Nagas they take place, how important role is of the chairman ceasefire monitoring group in the peace process? Because in my time, I remember in the year 2005, 2008, when I was there in Nagaland, and that time Lieutenant General Kulkarni, former Director General Assam Rifles, was the chairman ceasefire monitoring group. We also later on saw the precedents where Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, who was the former Director General Assam Rifles, as the chairman ceasefire monitoring group. So, what important role does the chairman ceasefire monitoring group play in the Naga talks, sir?
Well, it is an important role, and as you have already named Mr. Kulkarni, General Shaukin Chauhan, one Mr. D.K. Pathak, who was a former DG of BSF, were there. But at
BSF,
this
yes,
point of time, yes, D.K. Pathak was there. But at this point of time, you see 21 MPs from various cutting across political lines have written to the Union Home Minister Amit Shah that an interlocutor should be formed, A, because that is a demand also by the NSA and IM, and the Parliament and the people of India should be immediately informed about the latest developments in the Naga peace process. This is very recent, not too many weeks ago, but we do not have except a person called A.K. Mishra who is holding some sort of a dialogue with the Naga peace process. But I think the NSA and IM's demand is to have a full-fledged interlocutor to expedite the process. But as far as the chairman of the ceasefire monitoring group is concerned, he or she is there in place only to be able to see that the provisions of the ceasefire are abided. And for one reason or the other, we have had successive changes in this chairmanship, And as a matter of fact, somebody who knows Manipur, who knows Nagaland, someone who understands the matrix, the dynamics of the security situation, should be made both the chairman of the CFMG, that is a ceasefire monitoring group, and the interlocutor. I think the works, the job of both these positions are intertwined in a way. So I think it's very important what you say. But an interlocutor, whether it is a new person or the person who is already doing some sort of interlocutorship, that is A.K. Mishra, can continue.
right. So, you mentioned about Mr. Pathak, the former senior officer from the BSF.
BSFDG.
Yes, of course. Yes, former DG. Yes, sir. I've been in touch with him. In fact, the current General Bedi also I've been in touch with. So, and you mentioned about Mr. A.K. Mishra can continue. Yes. Any other name that comes to your mind about who is a specialist, who could be the specialist in the northeast part of affairs? In fact, there are some names in my mind as well. I just want to see if I think it's if you could read the mind, and because I'm going to be discussing about Manipur also with you. We have spoken about Nagaland, the
Well,
neighboring state.
as far as Nagaland's CFMG and interlocutorship, I think we need somebody who is a fresh blood, who has been following the situation in that part of the country closely. And I hope your readers don't take me amiss, but I would actually try to propose your name, Major Ali.
Oh, come on, have a heart.
No, no, no. In fact, I've said this before in many other programs, and I'm not sort of saying it because you are here interviewing me, but Major Ali, you are one person who has, at least over the years, I've seen dedicated yourself to this cause. So why don't we have a person who's so enthusiastic about peace in Nagaland and the region as an interlocutor, as a chairman of the ceasefire monitoring group? The government of India, and I try to give an example from the United States. After Trump has come back to power for the second time, have you realized, and even before, have you realized how different that country's characteristics or innate character is from our country? The present director of national intelligence is an Indian-born Hindu, Kash Patel. He is just 41, and the national security advisor earlier, Jake Sullivan, was around 46 years old. So we do not need to measure experience by age anymore. I think, Ali, after having looked at you very closely and your day to day, hour by hour, propositions, advice to the media, to the government through the media is absolutely sterling. And I think the government of India would do well if they sort of give it a serious thought and actually appoint you. And I'm not just saying it because I want to flatter you or con the viewer into some sort of a misnomer here. But I really think, out of the box thinking as far as Nagaland is required at this point of time. We have tried retired generals, we have tried retired director generals of BSF, etc. But it's perhaps time for somebody who is dedicated to the northeast, to Nagaland and Manipur the way you are, should be the need. It should be the need of the hour.
That's very kind of you. Very very kind of you to say that, Sam. I don't know
No,
you.
I know. I mean, people might think that what is he saying, but as I said, I have given the example of very, very senior functionaries in the Trump administration and even in the earlier Biden administration. I mean, where do you have a national security advisor who is less than 50 years old? But Jake Sullivan was, and then you have Kash Patel, who is now the director of the FBI, and even the director of the National Intelligence. Miss Tulsi, she is a very, very young person. So we don't necessarily need to measure experience by age. It is by one's ability to think out of the box about the dedication that he or she has, and most importantly, a kind of energy which propels you to sort of, and come out with a workable solution which will be acceptable to both the sides, that is to the Nagas, to the Manipuris, and of course to the people of India and the government in India. And I really feel that Muhammad Ali, Major Ali, you fit the bill like a T.
That's very kind of you to say that, sir. Thank you so much. That's very very sweet of you. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm flattered, honestly. So let's talk about the neighboring state of Nagaland, Manipur. In fact, what, according to you, could be the way forward to get peace in a beautiful state like Manipur, sir?
Well, I'm very encouraged by the fact that finally President's rule has been imposed in Manipur. And Mr. Bhalla's recent call for depositing the illegal arms within a particular time frame is working. It seems to be working, but I am a little well. I'm not say I'm a pessimist, but at the same time, I would actually wait for a little while to see whether the arms which have been deposited till now are actually arms which belonged or were sort of wielded by the insurgents and by the miscreants, including the Arumbai Tengol and the suspension of operation groups and the G5, that is a group of 5 people who are across the border. So you see, weapons can be taken when the call came from Mr. Bhalla, the governor. They can be taken back to the neat clusters across Myanmar. So I'd be very, very circumspect about this aspect. When and how the entire gamut of arsenal which were looted from the armories of the various security forces inside Manipur actually come back. The test of the pudding would be when the violence actually ceases. Now, you just want to have 100 arms. Perhaps some people actually have told me that these are, this is a psychological initiative or an operation that has been undertaken to show that arms have been deposited as a result of the call, stern call by the governor, and hats off to him if he is able to achieve it. But I am of the opinion that the test of the pudding is actually when violence actually stops. And there is a process of negotiation, a process of dialogue between the Kukis and the Maites without any violence whatsoever. Here, I want to sort of, underscore a very important fact. I think an internal security advisor or a security advisor to the governor is the crying need of the hour. And as I have written elsewhere and I've spoken elsewhere, I'm going to take the opportunity to tell your viewers that Lieutenant General Pradeep Chandra Nair, the former Director General of the Assam Rifles, who demitted office last year, is the right person for this job. He should immediately be appointed advisor security to the governor of Manipur. And I think because he has a very sound knowledge about Manipur, the Northeast, and also Myanmar, from where much of the violence emanates from inside Manipur. Yes, a fence is being constructed, but as we know, you see, through the help of the maybe even the Naga groups, Maite groups like the UNLF Koiram, the KCP, the PLA, the KYKL are entering Manipur through the Somra tracks. The suspension of operation groups are already in place, and they have now engineered linkages with the Zo groups, the groups which have a similar ethnic, denomination along with the cookies. So you see, we have to actually wait and watch whether the deposition of the arms movement, the operation, actually is successful. This time frame, this ultimatum which has been given by the governor is a very promising one. But I will hold my horses and actually comment on this only when we see a complete cessation of violence. But till that time, I think a security advisor, and I have named one by way of Lieutenant General P.C. Nair, should be immediately considered and appointed by the government of India.
Right. So I saw a viral video of yours as well, which was all over the place. In fact, I saw you mentioning about General Nair as well, and I totally agree with you. There couldn't have been a better person who understands the situation on ground very, very well, who knows that place back of his hands. Most certainly, sir.
Yes, one thing I want to sort of interrupt you here and say that there is some apprehension that he is close to cookies and the Maitis would not
No, no.
accept it. I think that is a absolutely ridiculous sort of accusation about a man of Lieutenant General P.C. Nair's integrity and complete unbiased demeanor. He is a person who has served in the Assam Rifles on many occasions, not just as a Director General, even earlier. And I don't think that he is siding with any denomination whatsoever. So the accusation that he is pro-Kuki and anti-Naga, Maite is without any basis.
He has such very good friends who are Maitis. In fact, yes, sir, very well said. And thank you for bringing this out. In fact, yes, because when his tenure with the 7 Assam Rifles in Thobal is highly talked about, and
Yes,
early when he was a youngster, and most certainly, sir. And this misconception people have, that that oh, so and so is favorite. In the army, people do not favor anyone. People just favor the truth. They
so I'll
favor
tell
what
you
is.
something else. I'll tell you something else for the record, since I might not get this opportunity. It was, I think, in 2006 or 7. I'm forgetting. I'm getting old and forgetful. But I was the only civilian invited by the Assam Rifles to attend its annual commanders conference in Shillong. Shivraj Patil was the Union Home Minister. He was present when I gave my presentation, and it was the first time I actually brought up the topic of this unofficial agreement which the Assam Rifles had with the Sioux, with the suspension of operations. I immediately said that is not on. And whether it is because of my intervention or otherwise, the fact of the matter is the agreement with the cookies or the suspension operation groups, I think 16 of them, were actually formalized by the Ministry of Home Affairs after that, because the Union Home Minister on a very rainy day in Shillong was attending as well, and I was the only civilian who was giving a presentation. I remember the last corps commander of 33 Corps was Lieutenant General VPS Kaushik, was then a colonel, and he was a Colonel General Staff who introduced me before my lecture. So you see, it goes back a lot, but I don't think that, you can say that Assam Rifle as an institution was, pro-Kuki or pro-Sioux. These things have happened in Assam as well. But fact of the matter is, General Nair is certainly a person of great integrity and above board. He cannot be accused of being pro-Kuki and anti-Maite in any sense of the word. As a matter of fact, if he is appointed advisor to the governor of Manipur by the government of India, I think a great service would have been done to the nation and the state of Manipur.
Absolutely, sir. In fact, when he was the DG Assam Rifle, that time Mr. Ajay Bhalla was the Home Secretary, and they had a very good team. They worked together. I've spoken about this on the news channel as well, and totally concur with you on that, sir. So let's talk about China's involvement in our Northeast affairs. And people say that China is behind a lot of trouble that's happening in the Northeast. They're pumping a lot of money to disrupt our Northeast. What is your take on that, sir?
Well, after the humiliation of Galwan, I think naturally China would have opened up certain proxies and entered the insurgency game, although it is not yet palpable to a student of security in me. Uh, but one thing one must say that the eastern sector, as it pertains to the India-China boundary, primarily Arunachal Pradesh, the 90,000 square kilometers, is a very well fortified one, at least um, till recently, And I have been briefed in a very high level last to last year, and I'll just tell you one this thing, the Chinese have been asking for more border personnel meeting points. Now, in the eastern sector, there are just two. I mean, of course, if you count Sikkim, there are three. One in Nathula, one in Bumla, and one in Wacha in the Kibitu sector. Now, they're asking for more border personnel meeting points. Now, to ordinary mind, a non-military mind like mine, who is researching on the India-China boundary as it pertains to the eastern sector, I think we should agree to his demand or his call for wanting more BPMs, especially in the Subansari Siang sector, you see, which is a huge expanse, because one is in Wacha in Kibitu, the other is in Bumla in the Kameng sector, you see, and the other rest is absolutely empty. Why am I saying that there should be more BPMs? You see, Mr. GK Pillai and I were having a webinar where I was the anchor, and he was along with other people, including former Foreign Secretary Sham Saran, former co-commanders of Leh and FOCO, etc. were there. Mr. G.K. Pillai said something very interesting, which I want to recount here quickly. He said that possession is one-fourth ownership. Now, if you, and by the way, by way of digressing, I'm saying the Wacha BPM point or the hut there has been allowed to be modernized in a very, very special way by the Chinese without any murmur whatsoever. Normally, it is not done. So, in other words, if we are to erect more BPM points and huts from the Indian side, especially in disputed areas like Asafila, Longju, etc., I think, we would have staked our claim, and as Mr. Pillai says, one-fourth ownership is, possession is ownership. We would have an ironclad enough claim later on when we actually sit in the table to negotiate the boundary. I really think that the negotiation and the boundary resolution is going to come sooner than later, as people are thinking, because I have seen no belligerence or intrusion in the eastern sector. I have a theory about the line of amity, but I'm not going to go into that at this point of time. But that is about the Kameng sector. So that is one aspect. And second thing, on the 1st of January 2022, China enacted something called the land-bound border laws. Now, what is this? They are actually handing the land border, the borders to the PLA and the public security forces and the police, and they're creating, model villages, the Xiokang villages in the border. Now, many people are actually alarmed, but I gave a presentation in the Kalimpong division of the Indian Army in 2023, where I said that actually China is trying to construct a second Great Wall of China, metaphorically speaking. When you create a wall, you do it for two things. You do it first because you don't want the neighbor's dog to come across the wall and defecate in your yard. But by the same token, you yourself do not cross the wall. So after getting to high points all across the 3,488 kilometer long boundary as it runs from west to east, the Chinaman actually will freeze the boundary and go in for a negotiated settlement. This is my absolute considered take about the mentality of the Chinaman as it pertains now. Now, if that happens, I think that would be a win-win situation for both India and China, because our deployment pattern in the forward areas all across the India-China boundary is so tremendous that it is telling on our nation's economy, health, education, and other sectors which require, the funds can be sort of, transformed into, for welfare schemes. This is something which I think the leadership should consider, because I think this Chinese psyche, as far as Arunachal Pradesh is concerned, is simple posturing. They would have done something by now. And as I said, there is such sectors in the Kameng sector where there is absolutely no history of belligerence and intrusion. And I can go on and talk about why and how they went back in 1962 all the way to Thagla Ridge, which almost approximates the watershed principle which Henry McMahon drew in 1914 in Shimla. And I can give various instances and refute allegations that they went back because they were worried about the Indian Air Force coming in, because winter setting in, etc., etc. But I can sort of negate all these if I have time, but I do not have the time now. But suffice to say that I think land border laws by the Chinese and their call for asking for more border personnel meeting points in the eastern sector are, to me, positive signs, and the military leadership and the political leadership should consider them a little more closely.
Right, sir. So, and since I know you are running short of time, and but I'll just quickly, before I let you go, I'll ask you a last question. Where your hometown and other places in Assam, that was the fortunate venue of the Advantage Assam. How did that go? And could you throw some light on that, sir?
Oh, well, it was a spectacular phenomena. It was just yesterday, as a matter of fact. Today is the 26th of February. The Honorable Prime Minister came on the 24th, and he witnessed a grandiose Jumur dance by the Santhali people of Assam. And yesterday, there was a huge fanfare and other aspects in the city of Guwahati, from where I'm talking to you now. And both Mr. Adani and Mr. Mukesh Ambani have pledged 50,000 crores 50,000 crores for the development of various sectors in Assam as a result of the innovative steps taken by the Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma by way of the Advantage Assam. The Prime Minister was there, the Foreign Minister was there, envoys of various important countries were there, and as I said, industrialists like Adani and Mr. Ambani were there, and they have pledged 50,000 crore each for the next 5 years to develop Assam from various sectors, from airports to to the riverways, etc. So this is a very, very good sign about the Assam which we saw a couple of years ago and of today. Development is the mantra of the hour, and the fact that the Prime Minister himself took off time and came and sort of visited Assam in this happy hour is an augury of things to come. I would end by what he actually said from the ramparts of Red Fort in 2014 when he first gave his first address to the nation. He said it in Hindi, but for some reason it stayed in my mind, and it was so interesting the way he said it. He said, "Jab kadam milegi, तो तन और मन मिलेगा, जब कदम मिलेगी तो तन और मन मिलेगा, तो मकसद भी मिलेगा." When the steps are in one, and he was that time, of course, talking to the nation, and I'm also sort of appealing to my countrymen and to my fellow Assamese. If the steps are in one, then the body and the mind do come as one. Tan or man milega, the maksad bhi milega. Then the objective, and the objective here is clear: development of the Assam, which is the primary state of the Northeast, which is a gateway to the Northeast, which is part of the Ashtalakshmi, which our beloved Prime Minister Modi ji is talking about, will see peace, prosperity, and greatness, and be an example for the rest of India in the days to come. Jai Hind.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Jain, sir. It was so insightful being in this conversation with you, and thank you very much for spending time, sir. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.